Welcome back to the channel, guys. Let's learn about what are const and let in JavaScript. Const and let in JavaScript are basically two ways to create variables in JavaScript. Let me tell you what is a variable. A variable is a container of data in a program. Data may be of any type. It can be numbers, strings, and booleans as well. And strings in the sense they are basically text. If you see on the screen, hello world is a string which was surrounded by quotes. And JavaScript supports wide range of numbers, integers, whole numbers, and decimal point numbers as well. And booleans are true and false, which basically represents the decision. Let's create a new file and let me go through this let and const variables. I am creating a new folder for this one and I am naming it as variables.js. Let's start by creating a let variable first. Let a equal to apple. Now I have created a variable of name a and I have assigned a string data to it. And now let's create another variable. Let b. This time we are not going to assign any of the data during the declaration of the variable itself, but I am going to assign data to it after its declaration. B assigns to ball. Now we can take to a point here, which is you can assign data during its declaration, or you can initially declare a variable first and then you can assign data to the variable later. And let's create another variable. Let's see, equal to 3. Here in JavaScript, numbers are flexible. Numbers flexible in the sense JavaScript can take natural numbers, whole numbers, decimal point numbers, negative numbers, and all these can be supported by JavaScript. And I want to show you another thing, like you can create multiple let variables in a single line also. Let d, and I am going to create another variable e, and I am going to assign a value to it. And for f, here initializing a value during its declaration is optional for let. You can declare a variable and you can assign data to it later. And let's console.log all these items here. A comma, B comma, C comma, D comma, E comma, F. Let's run this program from the Visual Studio itself. Click on terminal, new terminal, and run the program here. Here if you see the data, whatever we have entered is printed here. For A, initially A will be printed, so for A, apple, and for B, ball, and for C, 3. And if you carefully observe, for D we haven't initialized any value to it, and since we haven't initialized anything to it, it was printing undefined. In JavaScript, if you encounter this undefined, it only means that you have initially created a variable or you have declared a variable, but you haven't assigned any data to it. That's why it was printing undefined here. And also for E, I have initialized a value of 4. And now you can see that 4 printed in the console. And for F, it will fall into the D case here, which is undefined. Here you may have the doubt like how this data is going into these variables. In JavaScript, this equal to symbol is an assignment operator, which means what you can assign any data to the particular variable using the assignment operator. Here equal to symbol is an assignment operator. Not only in JavaScript, but in almost all the programming languages, equal to is the assignment operator, which will assign data to a particular variable. Let's remove all of this content and let me start from scratch for the const variables. Now I am declaring a const variable a and I am assigning a data of string type apple. And now I am going to create another variable of const b. And now in the second line I am going to assign a value for it. Let's say bat again. And you have already noticed some red mark is appearing under b. And let's see what it means. Yeah, this is an expected error. Missing initializer in const declaration. What it means is you have declared a const variable, but you haven't initialized any value to it during its creation. And it is the default behavior for the const variables. For const variables, unlike let variables, you have to give some data during its creation itself. So that's why we are encountering this issue. Let's remove this issue and assign some value to bat. But for b, save the program and run it again. Okay, we haven't logged any of the data, so let's console.log some data a comma b again, and let's run the program again. And now you can see apple and bat are appearing here. Now let me show you another thing here. Now I'm going to assign uh, b data to a. That means I am transferring b data to a variable here, and let's see what it brings for us. Now again run the program and see there is another error coming here. What it was saying, assignment to constant variable type error. So what it was saying for us is you have created a const variable, and for that const variable you are trying to assign some data to it later after its creation, and it is also a default behavior for const variables. So you can take 2 points here. For a const variable, you have during its creation itself, you have to give some data to it. And once you have given the data to a const variable, you cannot change the data later for that const variable. And now just like in the let case, we can also create multiple variables using a single const declaration. Let's see, c cat d equal to dear, like this. But you have to remember one thing here. No matter how many variables you declare in a single const declaration, but you have to initialize a value for each and every const variable that you have created. Now let's remove this a equal to b statement here. And now I am going to talk about some of the rules that we have to follow while creating a variable in JavaScript. Now this is a comment in JavaScript. A comment in any programming language is something that will be ignored during execution or at the compile time of the program. Now let's talk about the first rule here. Now I am trying to declare a variable of name A and I am assigning some data to it, let's say app, and I am trying to save it. You may have already noticed some of the red marks coming under A. Let's see what this means. Run the program again. And now you can see some of the error is coming. Syntax error, identifier A has already been declared. Now if you see, there is already an existing variable of name A is present and we are trying to redeclare a variable of name A. So this is why we are getting the error. So you have to take one thing here. You should not redeclare any variable of same name in the same scope. I will cover what is a scope later for a variable, but just focus on rules for the variables now. Now we have seen the first rule, which is we should not redeclare the same variable name again. And another rule, you should not also create a variable starting with a number to num. I am assigning some data to it as well. Let's say string data of 2. Save the program again and let's see what it's gonna bring for us. It was saying that invalid or unexpected token. Okay, what it was trying to look for is it was trying to find a valid token, which means valid naming convention. But what it was encountering is it was finding some unexpected one, which is starting with a number for a variable. So this is not a correct way for creating a variable. So you can take this here like you should not declare a variable with the number, starting with the number. And you can include numbers in the variables later, like you can give number at the end and you can include in the middle as well. But the only rule is you should not start a variable name with the number itself. Now if you run the program, you won't see the error. See, only apple and bat. Now let's clear the console. Just enter clear statement here. See, everything in the console is cleared now. Now let's move to the another rule. So now this rule is you should not use any special characters other than dollar and underscore. Dollar and underscore. See, even in the ID it was not showing any error. Let's run this program and show you that this is a valid one. See, apple and batter print into the console. And now let me change this variable name and add some of the special characters. Let's say hash. Save the program. And now let's run the program again. Now see, it was throwing us an error, syntax error, unexpected identifier. This is the same error that we have encountered in the case of tunum as well. What it was asking for is a valid one, but it was getting a invalid uh, identifier, so it was showing us this error. So what we have understood from this is we should not use any special characters other than dollar and underscore. Let's use another special character, let's say question mark, and let's run this again. Now the same error is coming. Syntax error, unexpected token, question mark. It was telling us that question mark is an unexpected token, that it was as expecting one, but it was getting an unexpected token. So with this we are clear with these special characters as well. We have to use only dollar and underscore symbols in the variable names, but if you use any other special characters you will run into errors. With this, I have given you all the necessary details that we have to keep in mind while creating a JavaScript variable. Let's have a small JavaScript program on variables. Let's create a mini calculator and let's create variables for it. Let a assigns to 5 and I'm creating another variable in the same line, and I am creating another variable just to store the result after we perform arithmetic operation. Arithmetic operations in the sense addition, subtraction, multiplication and division. Let's perform addition operation first and console it to the screen. Console.log C. Since I am going to perform 4 operations on it, so I want to copy it just for simplification. For subtraction, we have the minus symbol here, and for the multiplication, we have to use star symbol, and for the division operation, we have to use slash, which is beside the shift keyword. So if we save it and run the program, we can see the result. First, we have performed addition operation on both the variables. So 5 plus 1 is 6. That is what printed in the console. And then for 5 into 1 equal to 5 and 5 by 1 equal to 5. That is what we get in the console. And here if you see, we haven't initially created any data to it, but we have given data programmatically. Like in the sense, I want to store data into this variable based on the result of another two variables that we have declared previously. So that's why we haven't initially created it and we have assigned it later. And like this, we can use variables in our program wherever we like it, and we can store the information whatever we want. And I want to show you another thing in JavaScript. This is special for this one, division by 0 for a number. For other programmatic languages, it will throw you an exception called division by error, division by 0 error. Sorry, it's an exception, division by 0 exception. But in JavaScript, it will show you an infinity message for it, like this. If it's a negative one, then it will show you negative infinity. Now if you see in the program, 5 and 1 are not changed. I mean, a and b values are not changed. By instead we just use those values. So we can make these two as constant ones in order to avoid any assignment of value for it later. So basically we use const for making a variable a constant, which means the value for it will have to be same for the entire program. Here if you see, C is actually very reasonable here because C is constantly changing here. It was storing value based on the arithmetic operation that we have performed, so we can keep it as let. But we are not changing any values for the A and B, so we can make them constants. In JavaScript or any other languages, if you think there are any values that needs to be constant throughout the program, make it as constant. If you think those can vary, those can change based on the conditions in the program, then you can keep them as normal variables. Otherwise it is better to keep them as constant variables in any programming language. With this I am ending the video. If you feel my efforts are valuable, then please like this video and subscribe the channel for further updates. Thank you.